What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. With number 12, Donovan Mitchell. Last year in review for Donovan, he played in 71 games. That was his healthiest season since 2019, which was his second year in the league. He averaged 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, 1.5 stocks. 44% from the field, 37% from three, 82% from the line, 53% in effective field goal percentage. That's just field goal percentage weighted for threes, and 58% in true shooting. Really stacked up the accolades this year. He finished his 6th consecutive All-Star appearance, first team All-NBA, and 5th in MVP voting. For me, like a classic example of why box score watching is so silly. Donovan, his numbers were down across the board year over year. Points per game down, rebounds per game down, assists per game down, field goal percentage down, block steals down, 3-point percentage down, free throw percentage down. Everything was down year over year, and he was flat out better this year than he was the previous year. Keep that in mind when we get to KD and we start talking about his field goal numbers, because it's the same kind of idea that I think a lot of people get hung up on. Now, to be clear, yes, box score production is an important manifestation of how you're producing for a basketball team, but it is not the only manifestation of how well a basketball player is playing. The evidence is in the play type data. Even though Donovan Mitchell's individual statistics weren't as impressive as the previous season, when Donovan did more with the basketball, and when Donovan had, he was running a lot more pick and roll every game, he was just more on the ball, right? Even though his numbers came down, even though his individual statistics weren't as impressive, Donovan did things that helped the Cleveland Cavaliers as a team score more points. Just shot creation data. In 2024, Donovan ran 1,062 pick and rolls, ISOs, and post-ups, including passes. Got 1,083 points. That's 1.02 points per possession, which is decent for a star guard, but it's nothing to write home about. In 2025, he ran 1,316 pick and rolls, ISOs, and post-ups, obviously higher volume with him being healthier, but 1,405 points. That's 1.07 points per possession. That's 5 points better per 100 possessions than he was the previous year. That puts him into an elite tier as a high-volume shot creator. The Cleveland Cavaliers functioned better as an offense with Donovan Mitchell this year than they did last year, even though his individual scoring volume and percentages went down. So the question is how? How did Donovan Mitchell help the Cavs this year compared to last year? And the short answer is he bought in to what Kenny Atkinson was trying to do with that Cavs offense, getting them to play more fast-paced, more in transition, more ball-in-player movement. It required quicker decision-making, and most importantly, it required Donovan to give up the basketball more and to play more in the flow of the offense. And he did just that. Here's a simple stat to demonstrate how much Donovan Mitchell gave up the basketball last year. Per NBA.com's tracking data, in 2024, Donovan Mitchell averaged 6.3 minutes of possession time per game. In 2025, that dropped from 6.3 to 4.9. Another way to put it is Donovan's time of possession dropped by 22.3% year over year. That's a significant decrease there. And yet, despite a 22.3% decrease in his time of possession, his scoring volume only dropped by less than 10%, a little over 9%, from 26.6 points per game to 24 points per game. He basically refined his role to fit exactly what the team needed. He took a step back and allowed the finally healthy version of Darius Garland to do more of what Darius does best, which is initiate the offense with his dribble penetration, and that advantage creation just greased the wheels in so many different ways for the Cavs, as we know. And then, in shorter bursts, when the situation called for it, Donovan stepped in and was super aggressive. He actually shot the ball, or I should say passed the ball less per touch last year than the year before. So he actually passed the ball less when he had it. But that was what the team needed. The team needed him to cede control of a large portion of the offense to Darius in a larger extent than he did in previous years. And for him to, when he had the ball, do what Donovan Mitchell does best, score the damn basketball. The team needed him to be a scorer. And so he took back some of his touches and refined and simplified his approach to being more of a scorer. In short, he cut down on his touches, but focused on what he does best. And that led to an explosive scoring season for the Cavs offense. Donovan was lethally efficient in pick and roll this year. He's actually more efficient as a scorer in pick and roll this year than he was the year before, despite his shooting percentages being down across the board overall. He was one of only 6 players in the entire NBA last year to attempt at least 500 shots in pick and roll and to get over a point per shot. He did this by shooting 50% on twos. Again, that's a big part of that shot making in pick and roll, right? Fueled by a deadly floater. He shot 52% on over 150 floaters this year. Donovan was one of only 8 players in the NBA to attempt at least 150 floaters and make more than half of them. We're going to talk about it more when we get to here in just a second, but he had a really useful set of counter moves in the mid-range. And he's always had these, but he's really refined it into a super efficient part of his game. We'll get to that in a second. Then he shot 36.4% on pull-up threes, and that's a very good number because of the efficiency boost that you get from that three-point shot. That was 1.09 points per pull-up three in pick and roll. That's very good. Classic for Donovan Mitchell is a combination of what we've talked about with a lot of the athletic guards in the league. The combination of that downhill burst mixed with the pull-up jumper that can get defenders either on their heels where he can easily pull up or up on their toes where he can easily go past them. And then again, this is where the mid-range counters come in. Donovan had this ridiculous over-the-top gather. I should say he's had it for years. This ridiculous over-the-top gather that he would pull over a defender that would step underneath him and he'd step into a floater out of that. And then he was really nasty with that Euro step. Those little moves in the mid-range allowed him to quickly get separation, almost like John Morant-esque, with his ability to quickly get separation in that short range, that 5 to 10 foot range, where he could get to an easy shot that he could make over 50% from of the time, which removed some of that variance and gave him a reliable piece of shot making. That gave him the ability to be one of only 6 players in the NBA that shot over 50% in pick and roll on a massive volume. With that, or over a point per possession, I should say, on that massive volume of over 500 attempts in pick and roll. He also scored really efficiently off the ball. Donovan got 1.11 points per possession in spot-up situations, fueled by him shooting a crazy 47% on unguarded catch-and-shoot threes, and then some really good closeout attacking when guys would chase him off the line. The biggest boost for Donovan Mitchell on this list, the reason why he is higher than many of the guys who scored more points per game than him this year, is the simple fact that Donovan's one of the best playoff risers in the NBA. Darius Garland, who did not make my list this year, he hits many of the similar markers that Donovan hits that we've talked about in this segment. Darius was excellent shooting in pick and roll, had an excellent floater. He shot like 43% on pull-up threes in pick and roll. Darius, I would actually argue, in terms of just the regular season, is a better offensive engine than Donovan Mitchell because of his ability to consistently cut teams to pieces with his dribble penetration and pass effectively out of it. It really greased the wheels for this Cavs team. Their offense was actually 4 points better per 100 possessions this year when Darius was on versus off. But consistently, every single year, whether it be because of health or him struggling in that environment or a combination of both, Darius just kind of falls apart in the postseason relative to his regular season impact. Meanwhile, Donovan Mitchell is like straight up one of the very best playoff scorers of this era. Once again, last year, 30 points per game in the postseason on 57% true shooting. For 6 consecutive playoff runs spanning 47 games, Donovan Mitchell is good for 35-5 on 59% true shooting in the playoffs. To put it very simply, he is one of the very best playoff scorers in the entire NBA. And that puts him in this special tier of players who is capable of outplaying any top-tier superstar on any given night, which is what put him in this grouping. Now, defense has always been a bit complicated for Donovan, but I actually think Donovan's made real strides over the last couple of years. He's never been good on the ball. He competes there better than he used to. You guys remember how bad it was in Utah. He was just a disaster on the ball there. But nowadays, he still struggles a little bit, even though he competes better because he can get too handsy. He commits a lot of fouls. He's just overly physical on the ball as a defender. But he's made major strides over the last couple of years as an off-ball defender. The main thing is it's an excellent opportunity for him to weaponize that trait, that he loves to be physically aggressive and go after the basketball. Well, on the ball, that can give up dribble penetration too easily. Off the ball, it actually is useful for him digging down on driving lanes or digging down on cutters. And so Donovan has gotten really good at like digging down into the lane, attacking the basketball, but having the foot speed and the fundamentals in terms of his closeouts to get back out to the perimeter to a shooter. And that's made him a very good help and recover player. So as a result, like the Cavs defense was actually better this year with Donovan Mitchell on the ball versus off. And it's given him the ability to meet that mandatory minimum, which we always talk about. Like, in order to be one of these guys in this tier, you have to be able to at least fill a role on a team as a useful defender. You have to be able to do something that helps your team on that end of the floor. And Donovan has found that role. Off the ball, he can dig down into the lane, attack the basketball, and he can recover out to the perimeter with really quality closeouts for a star player at that position. You look at Darius Garland, and we talked about it. Like, Darius Garland, he's not a better scorer than Donovan Mitchell. I don't even think he's a better playoff offensive player overall than Donovan Mitchell. But in the regular season, Darius Garland is a better offensive engine than Donovan Mitchell. But even in that context, the Cavs defense was 5 points worse per 100 possessions with Darius on versus off, and it undercut a lot of his success. It's a big part of why he didn't make this list this year, in addition to the playoff struggles that we talked about. Donovan has become a useful defender for a good defense. That was the mandatory minimum that he needed to reach as a small guard, and he got there. So now, why isn't Donovan Mitchell higher on this list? Jason, he's 5th in MVP voting. He made first team All-NBA. Why is he all the way down at 12? The big thing for Donovan is I just don't think he has enough of that like game management, flow of the game piece, that offensive engine piece that you need to compete with the elite offensive players that are above him on this list. So let's look at last year. In the playoffs, the injuries start to stack up. Darius Garland's got the bad toe. He's not moving as well as he used to. He's not cutting the defense up the way he used to. He's sitting out for entire games. A lot of their shooters go cold, in large part because of that lack of advantage creation. And so Donovan Mitchell, like, kind of flashed a lot of the old Donovan Mitchell, right? Really taking control of the offense in more of a heliocentric manner. In the regular season, his usage rate was below 31%. In the postseason, it was over 37%. So he kind of like reverted back to that hyper aggressive on ball heliocentric kind of ball hoggy type of player, right? And for the record, I don't blame him for that. It was the right thing for him to do in that situation. Darius didn't have it. He needed to be more in control of things. I do not blame Donovan for that. It was the best chance that Cleveland had to survive their set of circumstances. But when Donovan goes that route, he misses a lot of the easy reads that are available to him. And it can be a lot of make or miss, feast or famine type of stuff. And it can lead to him not having the same level of offensive impact as the guys that are above him on this list. For example, in this postseason run, when Donovan Mitchell was on the floor, the Cavs managed 117.6 points per 100 possessions, which is fine, but it's well below what the Cavs were producing in the regular season. And it's well below what they did when Darius Garland was in control, especially in the regular season, right? So, like, I just don't see Donovan as that overall offensive engine that you get from the offensive players that I have above him on this list. I have a couple of guys on the list above him that are more defensive-minded players, or defensive weapons, I should say. But among the offensive players in this tier, Donovan's lack of that high-level playmaking talent is what kept him below. The next step for Donovan, if he wants to move up this list, get into that top 7, top 8 for me is that game management piece. Becoming the type of guy who you can give control of the offense to, and he's going to average 8, 9 assists per game, like the Damian Lillards of the world, right? Because he weaponizes that downhill force to generate advantages early in possession that grease the wheels for his offense. That's the next step. But for right now, I have Donovan as the 12th best player in the NBA.